Hey guys, if you're watching this video, it's probably because you have received a CHATS from the acoustics team at QNX BlackBerry, and this is just a quick overview of the hardware components and demonstration of how to put it all together. So first we have the CHATS head. That's just a loudspeaker mounted on an enclosure here with a flat reference condenser microphone. Second, we have the acoustic control unit, as we call it, or ACU, which you might find in the documentation. And in that box is just a 2-channel Windows audio card and an amplifier, which drives the CHATS mouth. And then we have the Bluetooth control unit, or BCU. This one is just a Bluetooth development board that connects audio to the ACU and can be used to pair to the head unit in order to make a simulated hands-free phone call for testing and tuning without a cell phone. So typically we would be setting up the CHATS here on a tripod to do testing in the car and putting the tripod in the front seat or in the passenger seat. But another use of CHATS is to do testing at the bench. And a lot of the bring up, obviously, of the head unit is done at the bench before it gets in the car. So I thought it might be useful to go over setting up for bench tuning today. So the way I like to organize these things is just kind of in a pyramid here. So they stack up nicely. It's totally fine to just tip the CHATS head here upside down. It's not going to affect the signal in any way, and it just seems to work well for sitting everything on the bench. So we'll move from left to right, plugging things in. First we have power supplies, 12 volt DC, 1 amp or greater should be fine. You'll get these with CHATS, I'm sure. And I plug both units in, and you might not be able to see it, but we get an LED to tell us that they are receiving power. A note about the ACU, the power supply here is strictly for the amplifier that powers the CHATS mouth. So the recording portion, which is done on the Windows sound card, this doesn't require power at all. So if you wanted to take the CHATS ACU with the reference mic into the car and capture noise or record anything, really, you don't actually need to have the power supply in use. So that's just helpful in case you wanna do recordings, and you just take this box, plug it into the laptop, and you're good to go. The same is not true for the BCU. The BCU does require the power supply in order to function. Okay, so next we have USB. So we plug in our USB cables, one for the ACU and one for the BCU. It's a good idea to have a dedicated USB port for each of these devices. I know that can be a bit frustrating with the laptop not having a lot of USB ports to begin with, but I have in the past done some experimenting running these two devices through a hub, and every time I try to use a USB hub, a lot of unwanted noise gets introduced into the audio signal. So just a heads up there, if you can, highly recommended to use dedicated USB ports for each one of these. Okay, next we have 15-pin DIN cable, nice and short. And that one just simply goes between the ACU and the BCU, and it just carries the audio. That's a straight analog audio cable between these two units. Then we have the speaker cable from the ACU amplifier to the CHATS head, or the CHATS speaker here. A note about plugging this in. So we have these sort of double banana plug connectors here, and if you're wondering about how to plug these in, I just typically, if we call the part where the wires come out the bottom of the plug, I like to plug the bottom of the plug facing the desk in the ACU, and then the bottom of the other side facing the bottom of the CHATS head, which in this case is upside down. So that's just to ensure that the polarity is correct. Now, it's not a big deal if you don't get this right. None of the tests that we have so far depend on the polarity being correct, but just a good habit to get into. Remember, bottom to bottom, bottom to bottom, and you're good to go. And then last, we have the CHATS microphone. This is just straight up standard XLR cable. Nothing fancy here. And we plug one side into the CHATS ACU, and the other side goes into the CHATS head. And that's pretty much it. Everything is set up to do bench testing now. One more note about the CHATS microphone. It comes out quite easily. There's just a button on the port here, and then you can take the CHATS microphone out. So if you wanted to take out the XLR cable, as long as it's still plugged into the ACU, you can plug that into the CHATS microphone and then move this around. And again, if you wanted to do a noise recording in the car, or some tests actually will ask you to take this out and hold the microphone close to the device under test microphone, things like that. This is totally doable. You can add more XLR cables if you want as well to make it longer. But for now, we put it back in to its standard configuration. And at that point, you are totally set up and ready to do bench testing. The next step would be open LiveAmp and load the config file, and then start going from there. And we'll cover that in the next video.